Oh hey, remember the other week when I was trying to balance the C500 Mark II on the Ronin S, and I was all like,
obviously we've got to strip the camera back to its simplest form to try and get it on this gimbal.
And then I was like,
I'm also swapping out the lens for this little pancake lens that I've got, because obviously we want to do whatever we can to keep the weight down.
And you were all like, seriously? A pancake lens? That's not what we want to see. We want to see this with a serious setup. So I went back to the drawing board and I got in touch with a more experienced gimbal operator than me, because as you might remember,
I'm not the best gimbal operator in the world.
And so Ollie here said, hey, why don't we try it with a Sigma 35mm F1.4, because that's the kind of lens that people actually would want to balance on a gimbal with a C500 Mark II. This weighs in at about 673 grams as opposed to the 130 grams that the Canon pancake lens weighs. That is a fair bit of extra weight, but technically still within the Ronin S's payload capacity, so let's see how we get on this time around. That's why Ollie's here. He's a Movi Pro owner-operator and is much more experienced than me in making sure we're doing things right.
Ollie went about the usual balancing procedures, and we started off using some small rig counterweights, but we only had two 100 grams weights, and that didn't seem to be enough.
Then Ollie had a thought. He had some old weights from his glide cam. They worked magnificently. We connected them with a hot shoe mount to the back of the C500 Mark II, right onto the cheese plate from the full frame camera company that we've got on the back.
This setup would work fine with the small rig weights if you had a bit more weight than we did. That said, the benefit of the glide cam weights is that they're wide and thin, so in terms of clearance it works fantastically. We also did a better cabling setup than last time. We used two SDI cables with a bongo tie in the middle to reduce the amount of pull from the cable.
That's a bit of gimbal operator knowledge right there. So check this out, full movement, you can go underslung without hitting anything, as well as of course normal operating with the Ronin S.
We had another go at the 360 movement and it still didn't like that, so that might be a job for another day.
I think it's too heavy.
So here's some sample footage we got with this setup using a friendly neighbourhood toddler. We also did some shots at 50p walking down the street. Of course, whenever you shoot in high frame rates, any movement like this does get smoothed out, but this looks absolutely amazing. One of the incredible benefits of this setup is being able to squeeze into tight spaces that you'd never be able to do with a Movi Pro or a Ronin 2. Check out getting between these two cars here. Or between these two chairs. And even through this gap by the kayaks. Of course, the setup is heavier than before, so you're not going to be able to operate like this for too long. You can get a side handle from small rig so that you'd be able to connect that to the Ronin S and use it in a dual hand grip setup. It's certainly a good option to have. In a lot of situations, the Movi is going to be the way to go. Its usability and functionality is unrivaled. But it's great to know that you're able to balance the gimbal with a proper lens on. It just means that if you're in a tight situation, you'll be able to pull off some shots that you couldn't do with a Movi. And if you're traveling, this is of course a much more convenient setup. It also gives you the option to do those nice smooth little slider shots without having to set up a tripod or light stands. Gimbals have come a long way in the last few years. When the first Ronin came out, it was quite temperamental. The industry didn't react all too kindly to Steadicam competition, and because it had a lot of hardware issues, it took a while to catch on. But now we're in a world with so many incredible options from manufacturers, it just leaves it up to us, the creators, to work out how best to utilise all the tools in front of us. Thanks for watching, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.